Hi everyone, thanks for joining me once again. If it's your first time here, my name's Peter and I talk about all things Thailand. Right, if you're a regular to this channel, you'll know I read out a lot of stories. Stories get sent in by viewers. They're stories about guys who've gone out to Thailand, they've met girls, they've become boyfriend, girlfriend, and the relationship hasn't always worked out. And sometimes they've been quite sad stories, bust-ups and all sorts, money going missing. You know the sort of stories I tell on this channel. So we've never had anything from a Western woman, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could get somebody on the channel, do an interview with somebody who's been to Thailand and maybe they've experienced something that we'd like to hear about. I'm very fortunate today because I've managed to get a lady from America called Katie. I've been trying to do this for nearly 2 years. I've asked many Western women, all of them without exception have said, no, I don't want to come on camera and tell you my story. I've been very lucky that Katie's going to join me today. Now, a little bit of background on Katie. She was about 29 when she first went out to Thailand, and she was married, very happily married, and her husband was assigned to a post out there in Thailand. He had a job in Thailand, and just unfortunately for Katie, the town, out of all the towns in Thailand, the town that he was posted to do his job was Pattaya. I'll let Katie tell you the rest of the story. It's not the best story in the world as far as what happened to her experiences, but I hope you guys are going to enjoy this. Let's bring Katie straight in and let's meet her and see what she's got to say. So, hi, Katie, how are you?
Hi, Peter. Good, thanks.
And you're whereabouts in America are you at the moment? If you don't mind me asking that.
I'm in the Midwest. A lot of snow right now.
Okay. I'm glad you're talking about the weather because you know we British love to talk about the weather. It's cold here at the moment. Right. So you heard the introduction there, Katie. Thank you very much for coming on. It's quite brave of you because a lot of women wouldn't do this. But, you know, obviously we had a chat before you came on. I think it was yesterday we had a chat. I've explained, you know, nobody's trying to be derogatory. Nobody's trying to put anybody down. It's just your thoughts on your experiences. And you're the right person to ask this to because what I haven't said yet is your husband was actually unfaithful to you when you were in Pattaya, wasn't he? You found this out after some time. So let me just ask you first of all, when is it you actually your husband got the job and he was sent to Pattaya and took you with him?
So we moved to Pattaya in 2011, the end of 2011.
Right. And how long were you actually there for? Because your husband got a job, he was working there, wasn't he?
Right. So I was there just under a year.
Okay. So you had quite a long time in Pattaya. It wasn't like you were there for a few weeks. So you got to know the city. You got to know, you know, most things there. So was it just you and your husband, or did you have friends that were also married to American guys who you got a group? There was a group of friends of you, or were you kind of isolated? It was just you and your husband.
There were a group of wives and girlfriends. Most of his co-workers were Western. At least the ones that we saw often. And so there were 4 or 5 of us American ladies there walking around together, getting used to it, having fun, looking at the sights.
So you weren't isolated, basically. That's good. So when you first arrived in Pattaya, you know, it's all very exciting. Like anybody who goes abroad, I don't know if you'd been abroad previously, if you'd worked somewhere else, probably you have, I guess. But when you got to Pattaya, what was your first impressions? Because we all know what goes on there. It's in your face. There's nothing. Nobody tries to cover anything up. It's just everywhere. So when you arrived there and you went out on your first night and you seen all this taking place, how did you feel? How did it kind of hit you and your husband actually?
It was so shocking. I mean,
Really?
I really didn't know much about where we were going at all. All that I knew was that it was going to be on the beach. You know, I kind of had a more urban, almost like a Miami type of scenario in my head, you know, thinking about it, kind of walking up and down a cosmopolitan, you know, beach town or what have you. And we were really, the other ladies and I were really surprised. I mean, it was right in your face. You know, I guess it was technically illegal, but nobody really tried to hide anything that was going on.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, I won't use the word because it's YouTube, but it is actually technically it is illegal. But as you quite rightly said, it's nobody tries to hide it.
Right.
And so Okay, so you've arrived in Pattaya, you've gone out with one of your girlfriends, and you're walking along the beach road, and you see all these bars full of all these screaming women and uh, older Western guys probably sitting drinking with them and everything. So you said it was quite shocking. So how did you have any interaction with the girls in the bars? Did they come up and say hello to you? Were they friendly? Was there any conflict? How did that go?
Yeah, they were really nice. So yeah, I mean, I went out quite a few times, sometimes on my own, sometimes with friends. They were all really nice. I mean, sometimes in Western culture we have there's some rivalry, I
Hmm.
guess you could say, or maybe portrayed in the media, or just culture, like two groups of
Mm.
women kind of
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of vying for the same guy or something.
Hmm.
Um, but Thai the bar girls were really really friendly. They'd come up and they go, "Where are you from?" "Oh, America number one," you know, stuff like that.
They'll say that wherever you come from.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So I mean, they were really friendly because and I didn't know, if they were thinking that I was there
For
you know,
that, I know. Yeah.
for that. Um, so it was just a trip. I mean, it was totally different. It took a lot of getting used to, you know. So, I mean, I could go on about it, but yeah, they were nice.
They're normally very respectful and very polite, and that sounds like that's the experience you experienced that when you were there.
Mhm.
Um, so how long were you there before you actually felt totally comfortable with it? Because you said you were very shocked when you got there. You seen scantily clad girls in bars, and it was, yeah, I can imagine it was quite shocking for you. But how long did it take before it was just blasé? It was just part of Patty, and you didn't give it a second thought.
Really just a few months. It never stopped being, just kind of disturbing.
Mm,
Especially when you walk down, especially those kind of small soys off
hmm.
Beach Road, and you see the themed bars. Like there's an airline theme, and all the girls wear
Yeah, yeah.
stewardess outfit. I mean that you don't really, because the background of the girls.
Mm,
Most
mm,
likely they're from impoverished backgrounds, and
hmm.
that's kind of sad. But just on a day to day basis, yeah, it was. I guess it was pretty fast that I wasn't shocked by it anymore.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's the thing you got to remember. You're right. A lot of them do come from very very poor families, so their choices really are a factory that pay next to nothing, or they talk to other girls in their village who come back with great mobile phones, gold, and lots of money. So you're not wrong there.
Right.
Now, how was it when so your husband was with you? He was working. Was he working long hours, long days, or were you left on your own quite a lot, or did he come home at a regular time, 6 o'clock in the evening, something like that?
Yeah, the nature of his job. I mean, he was gone all day.
Okay.
So he would leave. Gosh, I mean, it wasn't even. I think the sun had just come up,
Mhm.
and he would come back 12, 13 hours later. But yeah, he did work long hours.
So when he had a day off or the weekend off or whenever he was off, and you first started going out together as a couple or with friends and other couples, um, when did you first notice some strange behavior from him? Because I didn't ask you, how long were you married to him before you actually went out to Pattaya?
We were only married about a year. We were married 12 years ago.
So you were fairly young then. You didn't have children. I
Yes.
won't tell people your age. You told me how old you are.
I was pretty young when I was
Yeah,
married for
you were quite young, definitely.
Mhm.
So when okay, so you've landed in Pattaya. It was all very strange. The girls were nice. You're getting used to it now. It's been a couple of months, but you start going out with obviously your husband and yourselves. You'll be going out to dinner. You'll be going out to bars. And when did you first notice little signs that something wasn't quite right?
Yeah, well, I didn't, as I told you, we just never really believed that they would actually be attracted to the bar girls.
Hmm.
Just given their history. Knowing what they knew about the situation, and the fact that they were married, we didn't think that they would um, really be interested in that.
Hmm.
But there was one night that we were coming back pretty late, I think from Walking Street. It was just me and my husband.
Okay.
We took a bot bus home. He was staring into this bar, like a go-go bar with with poles
So,
on the bar. Girls are
yeah,
spinning around the poles.
sure.
He is staring so long, so hard at these girls. And I said, are you into that? I didn't know. And he's like, no, I just can't believe that how athletic they are.
And looking back on that scenario back then, that very time when the BART bus stopped and that door was open and he was looking and you asked him and he told you that, do you believe that explanation now, looking back on it? Do you still have the same, do you still believe what he said, or do you believe
I think now that he was definitely he definitely had more on his mind than how athletic they were.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it makes me
absolutely.
question a few other scenarios kind of like that.
So, okay, so that was your first inkling that he was interested in something else, it were.
Right.
And then did it, but there must have been a slow build up, little clues coming home later, maybe clues on the clothes. I don't know. Was there some signs that he wasn't kind of being the
Well,
perfect husband?
he did. It was kind of the classic, stereotype. He was coming home later and later.
Hmm.
We were having more issues, there was tension, more arguments. Our interactions became tenser,
Hmm.
because I didn't see him. I felt like I didn't see him very much.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was just later and later. But still, I just didn't think that it could be true.
Looking back on it now, do you feel that you missed some obvious clues that you could have found out a little bit quicker, or?
No, I mean, again, I just don't think that it wasn't a possibility. I never thought that he would do that. Why would he? Why would he? I guess jeopardize kind of what we had.
So, okay, so it got to the point where you're starting to notice he's coming in later and later. Were you starting to get suspicious at this point, or did you just think your marriage was kind of getting a bit stale? What
I
was on
I
your mind
I,
back then?
I didn't suspect anything, and looking back, that was kind of naive. I just thought that we were drifting apart. I mean, I had finally thought about, or I had the thought had started creeping in my mind about coming back home.
Mm,
Separating. I mean, that's how bad it was. I had started regretting. Because I kind of put my aspirations on hold.
yeah.
You know, um, for my career. So I started thinking more about that and asking myself if this is really what I wanted. And, because we were going to have to be moving internationally
Mm,
for years.
sure.
So, and that's what he wanted, So I thought, well,
Mm,
is this really, are we meant to be together? It was kind
mm.
of more those thoughts more so than infidelity.
So when this was all going on, I mean, you said at the beginning the Thai girls were very friendly. You went out, you had fun with them, and they were very polite and respectful. Was there any kind of animosity that built up inside you because he was attracted to these girls? Did it do anything to you mentally where you started to get a little bit bitter towards them, or did you not kind of blame them at all? You just thought, well, it's my husband; he should kind of behave himself.
I don't think I felt necessarily angry towards them.
Mm,
I did, actually, I do kind of remember. I mean, once after I found out, I remember thinking, how could she? Because I know that she was in. I don't know if she moved in, but
mm,
I remember thinking, how can they? It's like she just took my. I mean, obviously she sees because I left some clothes and some things
mm,
behind. So I was like, doesn't she see that I was just here? Or what did he even tell her about us? Or what I mean? It was kind of like that. Like, how could she do this? I do remember thinking, don't these girls know that most of these guys are in other relationships,
mm,
probably
mm.
married. Don't they ever think about that, or do they feel bad about that? I do remember thinking, just kind of a bigger picture, what
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
these girls how do these girls process like what they're doing in that sense. But I wasn't necessarily really angry with them individually because I know that they just wanted to make money. But it was more like, you know, don't they know that they're sleeping with somebody's husband, and doesn't that bother
I
them?
know. I know. You probably realize this already, but from their side, from the girls who do that there in Pattaya, they would have had no personal issues with you. There would have been no dislikes with you. It's not like a relationship in the West. So for them, they go to Pattaya to actually, as a business, to make money.
Right.
And if they have there's fierce competition down there. I think at the last count, there's 25,000 girls working in the town pre-pandemic.
Wow.
So it's very competitive. So if they have a chance to earn some money, feelings don't actually come into it, and I think you'll realize that now. But just to be really clear, to inject some clarity into this discussion, where are we now in the story? Because who is this she? Had he got a regular girlfriend now, or was it a regular bar girl? And was he taking her to your apartment when you weren't there, or what was the story there?
So you know, he had been staying out later and later, and we were fighting more and more. And there was one night that he said he was going to stay at a hotel, and there was one right down the street from us. So just kind of on a whim, I went down there, you know, just, I don't know, 100 feet away or something from our house, and said that I was his wife, and, you know, gave his name, said I was his wife, and could I have a key? So I went, you know, I put the key in the door, is one of those card keys, and opened the door, and he, like, there was like a force that shut it, you know, which was him, and I was like, hey, let me in. What's going on? He's like, go away. I'm like, okay, and like, what's going on? And so that after that, you know, it was very quick after that. You know, I made arrangements to come home, and we separated. And I actually don't know if she was there. But shortly after I came home, he mistakenly texted me a picture of her. Ooh. He was in the process of getting her a passport. And somehow our numbers were linked together. And so I received a picture of her with some other information regarding the passport. So I kind of put two and two together. I said, he was staying with that girl in that room that night. And I asked our next door neighbor about you know, if there had been a girl there. I didn't really have too much of a relationship with the neighbor or anything, but so it's not something she would have reported on. But she did say, yeah, you know, he's got a Thai girl here. So at my house in Thailand.
Oh, in Thailand, right?
Okay. She was now staying there right after I left. So
I got you. So you'd gone back to the States, and she moved in, basically.
So I went back to the States. She moved in right away. Yeah.
And you checked with your friend who told you this.
And I checked with the friend who told me. Yeah.
31 was he? Something like that? 31?
So he would have been 32.
Okay. And did you manage to find out how old the girl was at the time?
Yeah, because her ID. So he mistakenly texted me her ID. So I think it was like 1989. So she was like she must have been 22, 23.
Okay, so 10 years younger than him, basically.
So that was a big shock.
How did you actually feel? To what level of humiliation? How did you feel?
You know, it was devastating. The most devastating was the fact that I was going to have to now completely just start over. It wasn't so much mourning the relationship. Maybe looking back, maybe I wasn't even in love with him at all. So it wasn't so much him. It was the humiliation. It was just the but yeah, especially with my friends back in Thailand. You know, I was really, really embarrassed.
I can relate.
You know?
Of course. But it wasn't your fault. They must have, if they're sensible, they would have realized there's nothing you could have done about it. He was tempted. He did what he did. You were actually, I hate to use this word, but you were actually the victim at the time. Okay, so you're now back in the States. And did you ever find out what happened to the relationship with your ex-husband and this 22-year-old girl? Did he manage to bring her back to the States?
When another friend of mine, a non-American, who was still a good friend to this day, we talked on the phone. Gosh, it must have been 5 years ago. And I didn't even bring him up. I mean, I just didn't really think even to talk about him really. But she told me that he was in the States with her, and that they were actually living close by to my friend, which is far away from me. So I guess, I don't know, I guess they're still together. I don't know.
It would be interesting to know if they were actually still together. Okay, so that was really unfortunate. I feel for you, the pain, as they say. It must have been awful. I can't imagine going through it myself. So what now? Okay, he's out of your life now. You've obviously, it was a sad time in your life. You probably had many sleepless nights, many tearful nights, and I'm guessing you're well over that now. That's all behind you, and you've moved on with your life.
Oh yeah. If I see something around town that triggers a memory, but I don't even have any hard feelings.
What would trigger a memory? What sort of thing would you see in town that would trigger a memory?
Oh gosh, I guess the where we lived here, because we did live here in my hometown briefly. So when I passed by where we live, the church where we got married.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
He was very religious. Maybe that should have been
really
a clue. Yeah, very, very religious. So that would trigger a memory. But again, I don't even necessarily, I barely think of him. And I really honestly wish him well.
Okay, so that was, yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. Sure. So that was a very sad part of your life. It happened, you've moved on. And just to let everybody know, presently you are married to another man. You've got two beautiful children, I believe, young children that yes. You've just put to bed at the moment. So you're happily married and you're in a good relationship, I believe.
Absolutely. Yes. Very happy.
Good. So looking back on everything, would you visit Thailand again, and particular Pattaya, or have you got sort of bad feelings when you think about Thailand?
No, I would love to. I mean, that's how I found your channel. I mean, I was looking, I was looking for some, it was so cold and dreary here. Yeah, but I went to Phuket not long ago, actually, with my husband right now. Right. So okay. Yeah, I would definitely go back.
Before I wrap this up, Katie, you were telling me a story. You met a load of Welsh guys over there when you were in Pattaya. What was that all about?
Yeah, so there were a lot of younger, like Western guys that would go there for to take advantage of all the things over there.
Sunshine, good food.
All the sunshine, good food, and people. And so this was kind of towards the end of my time there, where my husband and I were, we were barely even speaking then. And so, I kind of considered myself single, and I was, interested in one of them, to, hang out with, just for maybe go out to dinner or something, He was not even, they were not remotely, they were almost, it was kind of repelling that I was a Westerner. They came there specifically to be with Thai girls, So I think there are a lot of Western men that, they go there because they're attracted to the Thai girl. We were hanging out. We were friends and hanging out, but, they were definitely there just for, when it came to romance, they were there just for the Thai girls, and made it pretty clear. So I thought that was kind of funny.
These guys, they're young guys, what they're doing. And, they buy a cheap ticket. They go out to somewhere like Pattaya, and everything's available there and then, Right. So they think, well, we're here for a limited time. We don't want to waste our time. It would have been no reflection on you, not that they found you less attractive or anything like that.
Exactly. And that's when it really occurred to me after this scenario, that a lot of men, that was the case. It was just too much work,
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a kind of interesting experience.
Yeah. We've been going for about 40 minutes now. It's been very enjoyable to speak to you. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I wrap this up, Katie? I mean, it's been great having you here.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Just Thailand is a wonderful place. It's got its good points and bad points, but it's a wonderful place. I hope to get back there.
Thailand is a great country. I mean, I've been gone for years. I've lived there, and people
Yes.
ask me, there is some bad things that can happen there, but I find with Western people who get into trouble out there, mainly it's their own fault. Generally, if you go there, you can have a good time. The Thais are very, very friendly. It's a great country. The food's great. It's a great culture. There's a lot to see and do. And you know yourself, you lived there before this happened with your husband. I'm sure you enjoyed Thailand for what it was. It was just unfortunate that you were based in one of the worst towns you could be in. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of couples go to Thailand and they're successful relationships and they leave together. But in a place like Pattaya, you didn't stand a lot of chance. To be honest with you, it's the deck was definitely stacked up against you.
Yeah, I guess so. But that's okay. It all worked out.
At least it all worked out. You're married now, and you're happy. That's the main thing.
I'm grateful for it all. No regrets.
Yeah. And it was all an experience.
Right.
So all that's left to say, Katie, I'd like to thank you very much. You've been very brave coming on here. I have asked quite a few women in the past, and they've all said, "Oh no, I wouldn't do that." And you have come on and you've explained what happened to you. It's an interesting story. I hope people who watch this respect the fact that you've actually come on and you sort of poured your heart out up to a point and told us your very personal story. I've enjoyed listening to it, and I hope others do. So thanks for coming on the channel, and hopefully you'll be a long-time viewer to Thailand Bound.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My first time. So
there you go, guys. That was Katie from the USA. What a lovely lady to come along here and share her very, very personal story. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm really happy that Katie got her life back together once again. Okay, that's pretty much it for this upload today. If you haven't already subscribed, please do go ahead and do so. If you like what I do on this channel and you'd like to support me, there is a link in the description. If you click on it, it enables you to buy me a beer or two. I appreciate that, and I'd like to thank you in advance, or you can come along and join as a member. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you for the live stream on Friday. That's 9 p.m. UK time. Until then, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.